How many times have you tried to lose weight? How many diets, pills, or exercise programs have you tried which don't work, don't fit your lifestyle, or are just so restrictive they're impossible to stick to? I've been there. But I decided enough was enough because I got sick of starting a new diet and never sticking to it. I thought it shouldn't be this difficult. You know, if I opened the fridge door and there was a bar of chocolate there, I had to sneak a piece. I mean, that's crazy. It shouldn't have that kind of control over me. I remember trying to buy a pair of board shorts for a family holiday, and I ended up walking out with a pair of shorts which were 2 sizes bigger than the size I was expected to buy. That stung. You know, look, I've never been interested in having abs that you could put on the cover of a magazine, but I also didn't want to be the perfect shape for a Santa costume. So I deliberately read all the downsides of being overweight, hoping that it would give me the kick up the butt that I needed to do something different. You know, things like the impact on my joints, the strain on my blood vessels mean obviously you're more prone to high blood pressure, more prone to a cardio event, all those kind of things. You know, apparently when you're overweight, there's less blood to your brain, so there's obviously potential effects with that as well, certainly as you get older. I mean, it all made sense, but it didn't kick anything inside of me. But when I started to struggle to get into the bigger board shorts, then I knew I had to do something. Look, everybody knows the fundamental formula for losing weight at its core is the energy balance equation. You need to burn more calories than you consume. That's easy. So why is it so hard to do? Because losing weight isn't about losing weight. It's about your behavior. It's about changing your habits. And that means unlocking a level of discipline so you can see it through. Does that make sense? How do you unlock that discipline? I didn't know. So I decided to find out. I did 2 things. I read a lot. And I spoke to people who had lost weight and who'd kept it off. I wanted to know if there are any clues in how they think. Do they think differently now to how they used to think about food, weight, exercise? The answer is yes. So I captured everything I discovered in my journal, and when I felt I had all the pieces, I sat down and I created this. The Discipline Shift. So let's get into this. S stands for Shape Your Identity. Look, you and I cannot look at a plate of food and instantly know how many calories are in it. That's not a skill we have. Secondly, modern lifestyles obviously are built around convenience. We don't have to hunt our own food, and walking around a supermarket doesn't compare to chasing down a woolly mammoth over 20 miles. Then of course, modern food is designed for taste, not nutrition. Sweets, candies, cakes, very dense, high in calories, but offer nothing which your body really needs. Then of course we get out of bed, walk a few steps to sit at our home office, or maybe walk a few steps to get in the car to drive, to then walk a few more steps to get to your office desk. Calories burned? Hardly any. We sit all day, then sit down at night on a couch. The closest thing to exercise is watching the good guy chase down the bad guy on TV. Calories burned? None. More likely calories added because, you know, eating while you're watching TV is a Western hobby. Which is why discipline isn't just about discipline, it's about behavior change. Changing your habitual actions. The people who transformed their weight didn't think about discipline to stick to a diet. They thought about discipline to transform everything, to transform the quality of their life. And if you're going to transform the quality of your life, the first thing you do is transform your identity. The most powerful driver of discipline, of behavior, is identity. Because we have an innate drive to stay congruent with the identity that we define for ourselves. You can't smoke and convince yourself that you're a non-smoker. It doesn't work that way. So identity is who you believe you are. Think of it as a vision of who you would like to be. And what's great about this is you get to decide who you are, who you want to become. So are you someone who sits on the couch, or are you someone that seizes life? And remember, it doesn't matter how you've been in the past, because that's in the past. Even a second ago is in the past. So you can reinvent yourself right now. So for me, I took the things which are important to me and I crafted an image in my mind of who I wanted to become. If you like, I crafted an image in my mind of the best version of me. So to give you an idea, I wrote these questions in my journal. Good questions. So I started with, what does being a good dad look like? What does being a great husband look like? And even what does being a great karateka look like, because that's one of my interests. Out of all of that, I imagined myself in great shape. Feeling strong, feeling energized, because that's who I am. So this is your starting point, because once you define your new identity, you will feel compelled to kind of behave in alignment with it. Does that make sense? All right, 2, H stands for harmonize. So our brains think in stories and symbols, which we then translate into words. Which means, of course, words have power. Words can help you tap into inspiration in the moment. They can be a reminder of the new identity you've envisioned, or even give you a kick up the butt in the moments when you need it. You and I both know it's very easy to get off track, especially when someone sticks a piece of cake in your face. And this is where the magic of a harmonizing mantra comes into play. So a key phrase, a statement, an affirmation which reminds you of who you're becoming. It's like a declaration of your commitment to your new identity. It's a daily reminder that keeps you aligned with your goals, to help you turn your aspirations into action so you go in the direction that you want to go. I'll give you an example. When I decided to lose weight to be the person that I've described, I found it too easy to get off track during the day. So I came up with a very simple phrase, which was, I live in a calorie deficit. Very simple. So if you offer me a piece of cake, in my head I'm thinking, will this help me live in a calorie deficit? No. So I don't want the cake. So others, examples that I've heard, one for example that sticks in my head is, food is fuel. Now obviously that changes your perspective on food. You're looking at food not as something that is to be necessarily enjoyed or loved, or it's a treat or a reward, but more likely it's just something which nourishes you. So you're looking at food as nourishment rather than reward. That's a good one. And just to give you an example outside of weight loss, because you can use this in other areas of your life. In my business, for example, my phrase is do the work. Because again, it's so easy to get off track during the day. It's very easy to procrastinate. It's very easy to go think about other things. So my phrase is just do the work, because that's the only way that you move forward. All right, so how do you craft a mantra that resonates with you? Start by asking yourself a few core questions. What values do I want to embody? What reminders do I need to stay on track? What words inspire me to make the right decisions to keep me from being distracted, to keep me from getting off track? But keep it concise. You don't want pages. You want something short, sharp, to the point that keeps you focused so you can easily remember it when you need to during the day. The key to remember is that the right harmonizing mantra can transform thought into action and action into habit. All right, 3, I is for influence, which really means focus on what you can control. Look, have you ever got on the scales and felt that they were lying to you? Like you've set this big goal, you're gunning for it, but your scales, they're not telling you the truth. Especially when they haven't moved in the right direction. It's annoying, it's frustrating, it can be kind of demoralizing, even make you feel like giving up. But here's the core insight. You can't control what the scales show. Not directly. You can only influence it by focusing on the things that you can control. So look, every single day you're bombarded with choices. What you're going to eat, whether you're going to move, whether you're just going to sit on the couch. These are the choices that are completely down to you. So instead of obsessing over a number, shift your focus to what you can control. And what can you control? Your decisions. Every bite you take, every time you choose to go work out, those are inside your circle of control. So pleasure comes from knowing you're taking the right steps every single day. So it's recognizing that whilst you can't control the outcome, you can control the steps to getting there. And that's empowering. Certainly I felt it was. Because it's not about the overwhelm of the big goal. It's about nailing it today in this moment. So you control what you eat. You control whether you exercise. That's where your focus needs to be. Look, if you want to drive yourself crazy, focus on what you can't control. Guaranteed to work every single time. Which takes us back to the energy equation, because that drives everything. Just 2 things to focus on. What you put in your mouth and how much or whether you move, whether you exercise. So thing to remember, it's the daily actions, the things you do each day that are going to get you to where you want to be. So focus on what you can control, because that's what builds the muscle of discipline. All right, 4. F stands for frame. Learn to shift your frame of perspective. This is something I learned directly from those who've nailed their weight loss and learned to transform their lives. If you think the end goal is somewhere in the future, so between there and now is a gap, and you're on a journey to close that gap. So to develop discipline, it's useful to be able to zoom in and out on that gap. So sometimes you want to zoom out to see the end goal. And sometimes you want to zoom right in on the action that you need to take right now. Imagine this. You've decided today that you're going to hit the gym, but right this second, you're just not feeling it. So that's when you zoom out. See the end goal. Step into it. Feel it. See the ideal vision of you. Because that's the reason behind your sweat and effort. It's about reminding yourself of that ultimate version of you, the one you're working towards. So write this down. Vision is fuel. The ability to shift out, to zoom out so you see the vision clearly. Vision is fuel. But then you got to zoom back in, focusing on the immediate action you're going to take right now that moves you closer to closing that gap. So you've zoomed out to ignite the fuel, to get you to say yes to going to the gym. Got it? All right. Now think of it the other way. If you're standing in front of the fridge, looking inside, and that big bar of chocolate is looking right back at you, the cravings are ready to kick in. You can feel them. They're in every fiber of your being. So zoom out. Remember your vision. Then zoom in and ask, will eating that chocolate help me achieve that vision? The answer, of course, is no. So you close the fridge door, you walk away. And this might take a little bit of practice, but it's very powerful. Works for me, especially at night. Go to the fridge thinking I'm going to eat something, and then I end up closing it thinking I don't really want anything because it's not going to help me. I'm not hungry, I don't really need anything, and eating something is going to help me get one step closer to closing the gap on my goals. So this ability to shift perspective is what keeps you moving forward. The pain comes when we get stuck looking too closely at the now, getting bogged down by the immediate gratification. I had a friend a few weeks ago who was telling me that we went out for dinner together, but before our table was ready, we popped next door to a little store and we bought a bit of chocolate for later in the day. We had dinner, but then later that night when my friend went to bed, he ended up eating this whole family bar of chocolate. And obviously he regretted it instantly. And it's that ability to be able to zoom out to the bigger spectrum and go, no, this isn't going to help me, and put it away. Get rid of the temptation for the moment so that you can zoom back in and go, right, will this help me achieve my goal? No, so ignore it. The flip side, of course, is you don't want to get lost in the daydream of the big picture without being able to focus in and do some action today. Otherwise, you'll spend the day daydreaming and nothing changes. But the pleasure, the real focus, comes when you can learn to shift your perspective dynamically, to use it as a powerful tool to support you. Because then it turns every decision into a stepping stone towards your goal, towards your final perfect vision of yourself, ideal vision of yourself. You master this and you're not just chasing discipline, you're living it. All right, final step, T, stands for tolerate. Tolerate yourself. In other words, learn to manage your expectations. You ever heard the expression, if you want to make God laugh, show her your plans? So you're developing your discipline muscles so you lose weight is unlikely to go perfectly straight out the gate. You're human. Do you really think you're going to ace this without a single setback, a single challenge, a single hurdle? No, of course not. And guess what? That's okay. There may be times when you find yourself slipping back into those comfy old habits. I know, I've been there. I've done it myself. There have been times when I've been doing really well. I've looked in the mirror and I could see a difference, which is great. Of course, it feels great. But then I start thinking to myself, oh, I'm doing so well. It'll be okay if. And the okay if is where things slip a little bit. And then before you know it, I'm looking back in the mirror and my waistline's saying, hey, buddy, you really need to do something about this again. But here's where the long game works out. And here's where you use this whole shift formula. Every time I eased off, the time between easing off and getting back on track got smaller, smaller and smaller. So remember, you're on a learning curve where each round you're getting stronger, more disciplined and better at doing this. So manage your expectations. Give yourself a break occasionally. It's not about beating yourself up over a small slip. That's not the game of discipline. The game is seeing the bigger picture, understanding that every step back is still a part of your journey forward. Look, transforming into this new version of you will not happen in a straight, uninterrupted line. Never does. Nothing works that way. So it's about resetting, restarting, knowing that every time you do, you're one step closer to where you want to be. You're always making progress. That's the important part. So tolerate the setbacks. Just don't live in them. Fairy tales have dragons. So does real life. They're just a different shape. So it's not about dialing down your goals. It's about gearing up for the reality of the journey, which includes setbacks, because that's what strengthens your discipline. That's what builds the discipline muscle. So you evolve, not in spite of the challenges, but because of them. That's how you ultimately win this. So remember, the discipline shift to shift your weight. All right, if you enjoyed this, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.